So could what Jim Rickards said here be true about Trump's plan to unlock a $150 trillion fund hidden for over 160 years that would lead us to this global reset or this Nasara-Gassara conspiracy that has been going on for years? Well, I thought this was a great post here that could be the detonation of the biggest red pill in modern history, which would be the Chevron wall falling and the gate to real wealth opening. So since 1984, the Chevron doctrine gave unelected swamp rats total control over federal law interpretation. That meant America's true wealth like copper, lithium, uranium, rare earth, oil, gold, silver, you name it, was locked away by design. The deep state gate-kept $150 trillion in real value while Americans were fed inflation, debt, an unbacked fiat currency that was taken off the gold standard, credit cards, and lies. But everything just changed recently because the Supreme Court overturned the Chevron doctrine. And for those of you that don't know what that is, imagine the US government like a big team that makes rules to keep things fair, like how banks charge fees when you swipe a debit card at a store. Well, the Chevron doctrine was an old rule from 1984 until 2024 that said if a law about these fees is a bit fuzzy and it's not super clear, judges should trust the experts at the Federal Reserve to explain it in a smart way. So the courts essentially just said, okay, Federal Reserve, you got this. And you guys know that Donald Trump does not like Jerome Powell at the Fed. He's told Jerome Powell several times to lower interest rates. And he thinks they're slowing down big ideas like tax cuts, tariffs. So Trump picked 3 Supreme Court judges who helped vote 6-3 in 2024 to throw out Chevron in a case called Loper-Bright. And now without the Chevron doctrine, it's easier to fight the Fed's rules like the debt-free one, which could let Trump tweak things his way, allowing Trump to now hold the legal key to America's hidden treasury. So this isn't about politics here. We're not a political channel. This is an economic war. So Trump didn't come back just to campaign here. He came to launch a resource-backed financial system, one that erases national debt, restores sovereignty, and ends globalist blackmail. And so could it be true that $150 trillion is buried in assets are now being legally unlocked to rebuild America's infrastructure, eliminate foreign energy dependence, terminate the Fed and fiat tyranny, empower a real value monetary system backed by Earth's precious metals and commodities itself, and even cryptocurrencies? So this is what Nasara-Gassara, the Great Reset, has been all about. And while normies and everyday people scroll on Instagram or TikTok, doom scrolling and rotting their brain, major institutions like BlackRock have been moving into tokenized assets, and XRP is preparing for global liquidity as elite families have been repositioning their wealth into real assets. So the truth behind the curtain is a lot stranger than you think, and Trump is preparing to ignite the largest economic power shift in human history. This is Trump's final move here. But I want you to listen to this because this was sent to me by one of our subscribers here on YouTube to my Instagram page, and I thought this was a great question asked to John Kennedy here.
Federal Reserve, they have a cross-border payment efficiency problem. When we send money overseas, it's inefficient, it's slow, it's expensive. In the near future, do you see XRP, which was built over 10 years ago to solve this, or any ISO 20022 cryptocurrency for that matter, replacing our outdated system SWIFT to finally power the Fed's payment rails on a public, transparent, decentralized ledger for America to see?
I'm going to put you on the fence. Well, first, the SWIFT system, we need the SWIFT system, and it's based on the U.S. dollar, terribly important. If I were king for a day, I'm not inspired to be. I'd throw Russia's banks out of the SWIFT system tomorrow. Federal Reserve, I think you're going to see over the next 5 years a very close examination of the Federal Reserve by the United States Congress and by the current administration.
So listen to what Jim Rickards said right here.
Their big announcement, people have been waiting for the new BRICS currency, but they did something equally important. They created a BRICS payment system, clearance and settlement of securities transactions, and a digital ledger of, what one country owes to the other, et cetera. So it's a payment, balance of payment recording system. Again, all using blockchain technology, which has been around a long time. The importance of that is now they're completely outside the dollar system. It doesn't mean they'll never do another dollar transaction, but recall they've been Russia, at least, and some of the other countries have been kicked out of the dollar system. So if you kick somebody out of the club, they're going to start their own club, and that's exactly what they've done. Now, this is mostly trade-oriented. I don't want to suggest it's the end of the dollar, but it's kind of the beginning of the end. You know, sterling in 1913 was the global reserve currency, and by 1944, it was a footnote. Well, that took 30 years. These things play out over time. This could move very, very quickly. But one really important element, so let's say Russia ships energy to China, and China pays them in Chinese yuan. And then China ships manufactured goods to Brazil, and Brazil pays them in their local currency. And you're keeping all this on a ledger. The central banks in each country can pay the sellers and the buyers, but the countries then have a ledger where they owe each other a certain amount. Well, you have two problems there. One is you might have too much of the currency, that more than you can really spend. If you have a big yuan balance, but you don't need that much from China, what are you going to do with the excess? The other thing is you have exchange risk. If Russia has a big yuan balance from China and the Chinese yuan devalues, Russia could lose money on that. So how do you solve that? The answer, which is 5,000 years old, is gold.
And Trump made that post a while ago saying, "He who controls the gold makes the rules." And also shared this, saying the world will soon understand nothing can stop what is coming, with the Q plus on his hand, which is the account that was making all the posts in those forums for QAnon, basically predicting the future. Now, in this same video right here, I broke down these secret cryptid posts from Mr. Poole, basically showing cooperation. And I also played this clip from Dan Pena saying that Putin is behind Bitcoin, which is pretty crazy to say because we found this document from the Bank of Russia. And when you search the word Ripple, it comes up 6 different times here in this document. And even right here, it shows XRP at the center of this explanation here, going between the euro, the yen, the dollar, the Mexican peso, as a central bridge currency, which is the exact problem that Jim Rickards was just explaining that these countries would have, having to hold on to their currencies in Nostro and Vostro accounts. Well, here's the translation of part of this document. It says blockchain and other distributed ledger technologies have become the foundation of many peer-to-peer payment systems and cryptocurrencies. These technologies were developed back in 2008 and 9 and proposed abandoning the system of financial intermediaries in settlements, it's like Nostro Vostro accounts, in favor of direct transitions and global blockchain networks. And despite initial optimism, attempts to apply blockchain-based solutions in the payment sector in the past did not gain widespread adoption, including due to the complexity of ensuring the confidentiality of payment information in a distributed ledger and the lack of sufficiently comprehensive mechanisms for resolving disputes in problematic situations. Of course, because of regulation, there wasn't clear regulation back in 2008, 9, and 10. So at the same time, the number of distributed ledger technology properties, such as distributed processing, the ability to conduct operations between any network participant, and ensuring data integrity, determine its potential for improving payment efficiency, especially for cross-border transactions. Thus, as early as 2013, Ripple began developing a cross-border transfer mechanism based on distributed ledger technology ideas. The transferred amount was converted into XRP, which were instantly transferred to the Ripple network participant in the recipient's country via Ripple's internal DLT network. The tokens were then converted into the recipient's currency, and the funds were transferred to the recipient using the local payment infrastructure. And for the system to operate and work, agreements were needed with banks in different countries regarding connecting to the Ripple network and conducting conversion operations between XRP and their local currencies. And as of 2023, more than 100 banks and dozens of payment companies have joined this network, with transfers with conversions available for over 120 currency pairs. And based on similar solutions, a whole series of projects was implemented both for mass retail transfers, for example, remittances by labor migrants, and for fast conducting interbank cross-border payments. And this architecture was used for their services by other money transfer systems like MoneyGram, as well as Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and a number of other global banks. And then this text right here, right above this diagram, says the scheme of the cross-border money transfer mechanism in the Ripple system. So could Russia and even all of the BRIC nations be secretly using XRP and not telling anyone right now? Because that document was from a little while ago. But what does Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa know about XRP that most people do not?